Hey everyone, this is the Shadow Reader. Today, we have a bit of a special occasion to celebrate. On February 27th, 1996, 20 years ago today, a video game series was released in Japan. The first two entries in this video game series were known as Pocket Monsters Red and Green, and they garnered so much popularity that they were eventually released worldwide. Today, we know this series as Pokemon. As some of you may know, I am a huge fan of the Pokemon series, and I've narrated a handful of Pokepastas on this channel in the past. At the time of making this video, I'm 23 years old, and I've played Pokemon games, watched the TV show, and owned Pokemon merchandise since I was about 7 years old. Even today, I own a Nintendo 3DS almost exclusively for the newer Pokemon games. So since today is Pokemon's 20th anniversary, and seeing how the franchise is holding a celebration, I think it's only fitting that I join the celebration with a video of my own. So today, I've narrated 5 Pokepastas that show the scarier side of the franchise. Some of these you might have heard, and some you might not have. So, happy 20th birthday to Pokemon, and thank you for being around for basically my whole life. I hope all of you enjoy this video. Also, please let me know in the comments what your favorite Pokemon is. Mine is Charizard. So without further ado, let's get into the pastas. The Buried Alive model, often referred to as its code, the Berryman script, was to be found on the final story of the Pokemon Tower, in what has now been replaced with the Marowak Ghost. According to the scripts assigned to it, the Buried Alive model was intended to be the boss of the tower. Once reaching the top floor, the following conversation would have taken place. Buried Alive.
You're here. I'm trapped. And I'm so lonely. So very lonely. Won't you join me?
After this, the battle would have been initiated. Once in a battle view, the Buried Alive model appears to be a decaying human corpse attempting to crawl out of the ground. It has been programmed to have 2 white hands, a Gengar, and a Muck. Strangely enough, a protocol for the Buried Alive's actions after it was defeated were not written. In the case of the player defeating him, the game would freeze. However, a specific ending was written by an unknown programmer upon losing the battle. In this ending, the Buried Alive was to have stated,
Finally, fresh meat.
Followed by several lines of gibberish. He was to have then dragged the player character into the ground surrounding him. The scene would finish with a typical game over screen. However, in the background, an image of the Buried Alive character devouring the player was to have been shown. Especially strange are the protocols for after this scene. The cartridge was to download this image to the small internal memory contained in the Game Boy, overwriting the title screen that normally accompanied a Game Boy turning on. Instead, whenever it was started, the player could view this image as the sound file staticmesh.wav was played. The intended purpose for this effect, unlike many of the other factors leading towards Lavender Town Syndrome, is unknown. Dewat, I think we're lost, Mina told her companion. They could hear the torrential rain and thunder outside, the same storm that knocked out the power in the entire Celestial Tower and the surrounding area. All Mina wanted to do is to at least find the front door so she could leave as soon as it clears up. She scolded herself for not bringing another source of light with her into the tower. "There's nothing we can do but wait until morning," Mina mentioned, sitting down and leaning against what Mina hoped was the wall. "Let's try and get some sleep." "Do," her Duat answered, sitting down beside her. After numerous unsuccessful attempts to get some sleep, Mina just sat where she was, idly petting her sleeping Duat and checking the time on her X-transceiver every few minutes. That's when she noticed a purple flame nearby, like the flame of a candle, and it seemed to be moving towards her. Mina was instantly alert, her hand instinctively going to the Pokeballs attached to her waist. She didn't throw one. She wanted to be sure that whatever it was had hostile intentions before attacking. As it came to where she was, she could see in its purple light that it was indeed a living candle. "Litwick," it said, its eyes looking over Mina and Duat. Mina noticed, as it came close, that this Pokemon was a light source. Though not as bright as a light bulb, it was enough to lead them out, but only if it was willing. "Hello," Mina said, as kindly as possible. "We got kind of lost in the darkness. Do you think you could help us by leading us to the door?" Litwick," it answered, nodding. Mina woke up Duat, who was initially suspicious of the candle Pokemon, and who was ready to attack. But after Mina told him that Litwick agreed to lead them out, he calmed down and allowed the candle to lead the way. Initially, Litwick used its light to make sure they took the right path and didn't trip, as well as leading them through the maze of gravestones to the stairs. But as they went, it became harder and harder until both Mina and Duat were breathing heavily. After a bit more, Duat suddenly fainted. "Litwick, come over here. I need your light to check on Duat," she called to the Litwick. It turned and came back, and Mina was able to see that he didn't just faint. It was more like his energy was sapped. "Duat, can you hear me?" Mina called, shaking him. Duat managed to weakly open his eyes halfway, and Mina breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that he would be okay. But he shook his head and said, Do I do? He closed his eyes again as his body took a few more difficult breaths and laid still. Tears came to Mina's eyes as she realized that her Duat, her beloved Pokemon that she had since Junifer gave him to her as a present, was dead. She picked up his body, intending to give him a proper burial come morning. After another floor, Mina fell to her knees. She struggled to stand, but it was as if her energy had left her, and she didn't have enough to even get to her feet. She looked at the Litwick she was following, which now had a sinister smile on its face. Mina gasped, and she suddenly realized that the Litwick had been sapping her energy, and was the reason Duat was dead. She brought a hand to her belt, intending to use one of her other Pokemon. But Litwick jumped forward with surprising speed and knocked her on her back, scattering her Pokeballs everywhere. It sat on her chest, and the sinister yellow eyes would be the last thing she would see, as her remaining energy was sapped. Litwick stepped away from the now dead human. As it walked off, it stopped and looked back at her. It kind of liked her, and it was sorry it killed her, but it needed to eat as well, and the human was the closest thing around. It was full now, but there'll be others that will get lost, and it will be there to feed again. Litwick. While shining a light and pretending to be a guide, it leeches off the life force of any who follow it. It was her favorite doll. She took it everywhere, clutching it in her small hands. The doll did everything with her. It went to school, sleepovers, dinners, and even tagged along for baths. The two were inseparable. She even claimed the first day she became a trainer, she'd still carry it around to remember her childhood. The doll might have been a bit odd-looking, but that didn't change anything. It's what she liked. It made the doll truly unique. But as years went on, she found interest in other dolls. It didn't make sense, junking the old doll for new ones. Yet, worn and dirty with age, the doll was sent away. It lay in the dumpster, surrounded by trash bags and food wrappers. Not where it belonged. Not at all. Slowly, the arms twitched, fingers clawing into the trash bags. Its eyes were an angry red, and the zipper mouth turning into an angry scowl. Bonnette rose from the dumpster, ready to find the little girl who threw it away. The neighborhood, it hadn't changed a bit. How long had it been, anyway? Bonnette surely couldn't have been in there that long. It would find that sweet little girl again and cuddle right back up in her arms. Trash, what a joke. How could someone throw it away? A favorite should not be treated this way. You always kept your favorite. You never tossed it away. The grudge grew stronger as the familiar houses of the block came into view. Her house wasn't far, just a few more to pass by. At last, it came into view. The window was opened, letting the warm summer breeze pass through. To Bonnette's disgust, new dolls littered the floor of her room. Other Pokemon, all new and fresh, not a stain on them, all set perfectly in a row. Its owner wasn't so little anymore. It had been a few years. Bonnette floated over to the calendar. Tomorrow was her 10th birthday. She'd be a trainer tomorrow. Bonnette slashed its claws through the calendar. A trainer? No chance at that. The slashing continued, slitting all of the dolls' throats. Stuffing pooled out, the dolls landing on the floor silently. No, this wasn't enough. The girl would get new dolls, and these ones would end up in the dumpster as well. There was a simple solution to that, at least. She barely had a chance to scream, just a whimpered gurgle as the claws tore through flesh, leaving a clean, long cut down her neck. The girl would never, ever abandon her dolls. Ever again. In every Pokemon game, there are dark caves that require the move Flash for you to be able to see inside them. However, have you ever tried getting through them without it? I discovered this trick on Pokemon Gold, and have since tried it on every Pokemon game I own. It works on them all, even previous generation Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow games. You must be in a dark cave or anywhere that you should use flash. Walk around, fight Pokemon in the dark, bump into trainers, or just keep wandering in the dark, because eventually you will find a ladder that is not on the map. Climb down. The screen will go black as you hear the going downstairs noise, but it will play 4 times, as if you've just gone down 4 floors. A text box will appear on the black screen, saying simply, "Where do you think you are?" The music is distorted for a few seconds, and the screen goes glitchy. Sometimes you might hear a thud noise as if you have walked into a wall, or a distorted Pokemon cry that sounds like a scream. Then you will be able to see. In the older versions of the game, it simply looked like you'd found a new area that wasn't on the map. In newer versions, you can tell something is wrong because everything is in black and white. You will be in a big, empty room. The 4 walls all have something written on them, usually your player name and the time, or the names of your Pokemon. You can walk through one of the walls. Which one depends on the game. If I remember rightly, it's the north wall in diamond and the left one in yellow, and so on. When you go through the wall, you will be back in the overworld outside the cave. However, everything will still be in black and white. The music will be slower and lower too, and occasionally, it jumps. Trying to talk to people now is useless. You cannot interact with them anymore. In Pokemon Yellow, the Pikachu that follows you around is now the spray of a ghost from Lavender Town. If you check your Pokemon, they will all be there, same stats and nicknames and moves, but all their icons are replaced by the ghost sprite. If you go into the grass and find wild Pokemon, they will almost immediately run away or flee from you. Go back into the dark cave you came out of. This is now the only place you can fight wild Pokemon and other trainers, so long as you do not use Flash. I recently discovered that if you play the game like this for long enough, in that one dark cave, eventually you will see a trainer that looks like you, your main character icon. They stand out because everything else is black and white. However, if you try to talk to them, all that happens is that a box pops up saying, "Where do you think you are?" The screen goes black, and you hear the distorted music, thud, or scream from before. Come, little children, come with me. Safe and happy you will be. Away from your homes now let us run. With Hypno you'll have so much fun. Oh, little children, please don't cry. Hypno wouldn't hurt a fly. Be free, be free, be free to play. Come down in my cave with me to stay. Oh, little children, please don't squirm. Those ropes, I know, will hold you firm. Hypno tells you this is true, but sadly, Hypno lied to you. Oh, little children, you mustn't leave. Your families for you will grieve. Their minds will unravel at the seams, allowing me to haunt their dreams. But surely all of you must know that it is time for you to go. Oh, little children, you weren't clever. Now you shall stay with me forever.